right, so here's how I've been making my Mercury panels. Here's a sample right here, which I'm going to send you. Basically, there are about 36 panels on the capsule, with 14 of them being unique. So the actual, there's a bunch of different variations, but what's cool about it, with the notable exception of this and the hatch panels, they usually follow the bottom, middle, top masters. So this is a plastic model of what we're calling the A shingle, which is the one on the bottom. There's a bunch of different variations of this, but what's cool about it is they're all basically variations of the master. So if these grooves are simply blocked out, you can make basically all the panels you need. So my intention with this whole project is, besides this, which is a lift ring cover for capsule recovery, and the reason I started here was it's small and I can prototype and do all my tests on this before spending a lot of money making the big bucks, is the ability to, one big advantage is the ability to block out these grooves. So instead of having 14 different bucks, which would end up being 28 because you have a bottom and top die, I'm using rubber instead to actually press the annealed aluminum onto this form. And because I'm using rubber and because I don't have that top die, now I can actually use Bondo and fill and sand out grooves that aren't needed. And I wouldn't be able to do that with a top die because it would have protruding grooves which would fit into this. And also I don't need centering pins. There's just a bunch of different advantages to doing it this way. So this is basically the setup. I have my little hydraulic press. This is like a 5/8 inch piece of steel, which is my bottom pressure plate. And I have this pressure plate, which just comes up with the press. I added these two pressure plates because before I was using these little 12x12 plates, and they worked, but every single time I press a panel, I have to like take everything off, restack it. Now it's all built in. Another thing I've been doing, this is the CNC buck. So this has a compound curvature. It's barely noticeable, but the radius here and the radius on top are slightly different. For this panel, it really didn't matter. I could have gone with one radius and it'd been fine. But the bigger panels, it would need to be a compound curvature. So this is where I'm at right now. This right here is what I've been using for my pressure block on top. So this is curved 1/4 inch wood, and the whole thing's been filled with 5,000 PSI concrete. And as crude as it looks, this has held up fantastic. I've probably done, I don't know, a dozen press tests with this and I haven't had a crack. And it's just a nice, cheap way to not have another curved piece of steel on top pressing this all together. So anyway, I'm going to show you how everything's done in a second. So the first step is I have my 0.02 inch 3003 H14 aluminum, which we're about to anneal. So the actual thickness of the real thing was actually a little bit less than that. The real ones were 0.016, this is 0.02. So first step, I'm just gonna draw on it all over the place with the Sharpie. And if you've never done this before, it's just a really great way to give yourself an indicator of when the panel is annealed without melting anything. All right, so basically I'm just gonna start heating this up gradually, and when this Sharpie burns off and I don't see it anymore, that means it's annealed. Now it went from a straight panel, it's a little bit wavy, but all of this is going to get pressed out when we put it under pressure. All right, so now the next steps are uncentering this on the press so the pressure is relatively centered. I just sprayed this with Lysol. I don't think it matters if you do water or Windex, or really it's just something to keep everything from sticking. This part isn't so necessary as much as spraying the top of it, because when all that pressure is pushed into this, the rubber, you have to peel it off if it doesn't have some kind of lubricating layer. So next is my 3/16 inch rubber, and I also have my 3/4 inch polyurethane block. I believe this is 55 or 60 durometer. And then next is my curved pressure block. All right. Now we're ready to start pressing. Now you can see how much this rubber just pushes out and expands from its original 12 by 12 shape. So I'm just gonna release the jack. You can see how much it's gonna start kind of shrinking in, getting a little bit smaller. We have a pretty nice looking press panel.